everybody. I hope you're all doing well. I'm doing a 30-minute session for a client. I just want to tell you to the client, thank you so very much for an opportunity to connect with you today. Thank you so much for sharing with us here on YouTube. You kept your goals short and sweet. I mean, we've got a big wide open door here of possibilities. So I can't wait to see how your guides guide us here. Okay, let me read these goals out loud and I'm going to get started. You say, "Hi, Abby. I'm open to the most important message and clearing." Okay. I mean, that's a straight up open door right there. The most important message and clearing. I'm going to find out what that is. All right. I'm going to relax and get in the zone here. What is the most important message and clearing that I can provide you today? So I'm just weeding through. I'm literally in a tunnel space that's covered in overgrowth. I'm walking through it and it's literally like I'm weeding through this overgrowth. And I feel inspired to say, because it's very quickly you're weeding through this overgrowth, I'm watching you. And I say, it'll be a lot easier for you to find what you're looking for if you remove the weeds. It's almost like getting organized will help you get in the flow or find out what that flow is. Let me just see what you say about this. Because you're kind of echoing, well, do I really need to clear out these weeds? Maybe need to be moving towards a different space, a different experience. Maybe there's nothing more I need to do here, just let these weeds grow and I just move on. Let's see. We're going to try multiple things. One is we're going to just pull out all the weeds from in here. See what happens. Another is we're going to become the weeds, see if they're actually weeds. Maybe these things are doing you some good and not some harm. And then we're going to see if we could just enter into a totally new experience, what that has to offer. So we're going to take a look at 3 different viewpoints. All right, you and I, we're going to work together. We're going to remove these energy weeds. Man, it's a lot of hard work. My hands are getting cut and scraped. It feels like, you ever put energy into something and it's like the job is never done? And then all you find yourself is just exhausted and even getting hurt now. It feels like that. Removing these weeds is like this never-ending chore. It's almost like if hell could be listening to your least favorite song on repeat for all eternity, I don't know, it's pulling these weeds is something similar to losing your mind. But then it starts to appear these cuts and scrapes and this like never-ending chore. So you may be onto something here about shifting to some new experience. Moving on from this. Hard work doesn't really suit your growth anymore. You've outgrown it. But let me just be the weeds for a moment, okay? They're very strange. Boy. How do I explain what they're saying? They show me a picture of a child. Child has no clothing on. And there's these weird strips that are laid down upon the child in different directions, and they're kind of sticky, okay? And these weeds make strange noises like, They just do, okay? And I'm just standing here like, what are you saying? What do you mean by this? So I'll have to be patient. Let's see what we can find out next. I'm gonna have to rip off these slabs. I mean, off of the child, these sticky pieces, I'm just ripping them off. It's painful. It's ripping the skin with it. It's like if you were to go get a professional wax and they took the hair and the skin. I mean, they just pull these pieces and off goes everything, eat right on through the skin. It's painful like this. And this little boy says, "Why are you hurting me?" And I see these big, massive plant beings, and they speak in these strange sounds, and they're like overgrown weeds, like those weed trees that grow what seems like overnight. That you thought it was just like a strange little plant, and then it's like a full-grown weird tree. Like these things are just like crazy, massive weeds of all various kinds. And they're overwhelming. They're kind of controlling as well. It feels like you have no life of your own. It's controlled by these weed people. So we need to find the balance here, because this child represents you, okay? I don't feel like your mind of your vision has ever gotten any sound or any say in these exchanges. So you're doing all this hard work to pull out the weeds, to remove them so that you're free to be who you are. While the weeds, it's almost like they aren't letting you go. They're not letting you go, and as they hold on to you, they hurt you. They create pain. It makes sense that you want to go outside of this. Actually, just leave this all behind. We're going to have to completely clear our senses, clear our minds, clear our emotions in order to get to the third possibility, okay? So I'm going to see a brand new, what is like a pathway that has no weeds on it, and let's just say it's the pathway of nothingness, because we don't have any definable points as of yet. It's just a basic idea of a path with nothing on it. The path of nothingness. Oh. What I like about this path is it shows me your energy balance and your energy balance's relationship with the previous path in the weeds, because it seems almost like you're dropping seeds and they're starting to grow into these weeds. It's like the next path is only going to reflect the current one. So let's try to figure this out. All right, I'm going to stay in the path of nothingness because I see seeds and things are dropping off of you, and I see time pass. I see weeds growing. But what I like about it is they don't grow right away, so it gives you time to breathe. And in this time to breathe, it clears your head, it clears your emotions, it clears you out. So your reflections, your energy balance, your flow is different than the person that you were before you found the path of nothingness. And as your energy field shifts and changes, you become bright. You don't feel like the weeds are at the forefront. You feel like the weeds are behind you. even if they're starting to grow around you, you aren't paying them much attention. What you are putting energy into is something bright inside yourself. Whereas previously the weeds were distracting you from that. So walking away and starting something fresh and new, even if it starts to grow some new weeds of the old kind, they have very little influence like they once had, okay? It's a really good sign. I will say, you're glowing so bright, and I'm taking notice of something going on inside your heart, because there's little shavings of little sharp pieces and it's starting to feel, you know, if you were to touch like insulation with there's like little pieces of glass in it, you don't see it, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into until after you've touched it, and then your hands start to itch. It's kind of like that feeling in your heart, like there's some of this weed is kind of falling off in here and it's creating a discomfort. It's not the end of the world, but it is noticed. Okay, I say let's hang in there. These discomforts, they're like little shavings, are starting to develop into really gross, they're like black eyeballs. And they have some, it's almost like the pupils are kind of like a foggy white with black. And there's lots of them and they're squishy. And they're starting to become many. It's almost like if you were to put your hand into like an olive jar, it's almost like kind of like that in your heart right now. You're starting to become full of these eyeballs. And they're starting to take over, and you're lying down because you can't really stand up. You're literally like, you are the jar full of the olives. Like they're just starting to become more and more and more, but they literally are like squishy eyeballs with like a white, foggy white iris. And they're actually starting to, your skin is thinning out and they're coming out of your body, like rolling out of your body onto this path of the nothingness. With the seeds of the new weeds are growing. And your energy, which is sort of refreshed and new, is now being introduced to the past, cycling back around again. And you don't have the means to fight this. You don't have the means to stop this. You don't have the means to even understand it or know. All you can do is succumb to it, literally. You just are like, just let me die. That's what you say. And I'm just like, yeah, like that's gonna happen. I don't think so. We're gonna figure this out. You say some things like, everything you do is wrong, or you always screw things up, kind of like this. All right, I'm gonna become these eyeballs for a minute. I just wanna see what they're like different to the weeds, if there is any difference. I feel like they're worse. They're more malicious. They're more perceptive. They're like the evil eye. It's almost like you're full of evil eyes. They're more congesting without any solution, and you can't puke them out. They force their way out by stretching your skin so thin that they just come out of it. That's horrifying. I ask you, why do you think you're attracting the evil eyes? I mean, there's a lot of evil eyes here. Is that why the weeds grew, to hide you? You needed the weeds to hide you, but then the weeds became the next problem. So really hiding was the problem. Let's just say that you're completely exposed. Like, let's just say that you're visible. So what? Oh, too many terrible reasons. I say, I'm just going to levitate all these eyes, so they're just going to be in some sort of, they're just going to be levitating. They're all going to see you, okay? And then let's just see what happens. Let's not get worried about that. Because we're going to have to reverse the energy so that where the evil eyes are the threat, you can just be you, the evil eyes can be the evil eyes, and nobody's threatened. Like, that's literally all. I mean, they can go do their purpose somewhere else. If their purpose is to threaten you and then you feel threatened, then they have a reason to stay. But if they're threatening you and you're not threatened, you just are yourself, then it's not very fun. So they can just go somewhere else now. I feel like these evil eyes are something more. It's like a big energy body with a bunch of eyes all over it. You're definitely holding yourself back. I feel like there's the potential that you could be like the rubber band has been getting like pulled back, and then it's going to be let go and you're going to slingshot forward. And so maybe this is this sort of time where things are pulling back right now, where it doesn't feel necessarily awesome or clear-minded or understood or comfortable, and then something happens and something let goes, and now you're slingshotting forward, and it's gonna feel different than this. It's gonna feel better than this. I mean, I'm gonna stand by that's a premonition for you. That we're just working our way back to slingshot you forward that much faster and more excited and blissful. Let's just own that one, right? Let's just see that as a premonition for you. It does help you. You're like, oh, so I'm in like the slingshot going backward right now. You're standing up and you're a lot more calm because it gives you a feeling that there is something better than this. And you're in the direction of that, even if it feels like you're going backward first, to move forward that much faster when the time comes. It's really a reset button to have this thought. It feels like a real reset button. And that's what's shifting your energy, and you're taking your power back just simply by having this and knowing. Because now you know that the eyeballs don't have the rest of your life. They don't have you wrapped around their eyeballs fingers. It's like their time, but not really. It's just your time moving back and then slingshotting forward. I say, now that you're a lot more empowered and standing on your own 2 feet, why don't we just accept that they're here? And we know we've got the premonition, but why don't we take a time to kind of talk to them and see if they have anything to say to us? It is. It's like a big blobulous figure covered in black eyeballs with little foggy irises. So it's one big being. And you say you don't know what to do with this being. You don't know. How do you look into its eyes? Like, how do you look at it properly? It's just too many eyeballs. It's weird. I say that's funny. Like, that's really funny. You should ask it that question. How am I supposed to look at you? I don't know how to look at you. We'll just say that and then see what it does. See, this is what's making, it's bothering it. But I'm starting to understand that as it becomes more relaxed and more balanced in a way between you and this thing, energetically, nobody's impacting the other, so to speak. There's an exchange, but it's not like one is tied to the other. I start to see a part of your own spirit inside this thing. It's almost like it was consumed, like the eyes absorbed it in somehow. This is like a ghostly apparition. And this you says, I can't get out of this. I say, okay, because I can tell the energies are starting to go freak out. So I'm just saying, okay, let's not get overwhelmed or concerned here. It's just a simple statement. This part of you doesn't know how to get out. There's nothing to worry about. That doesn't mean this part of you can't get out. Just doesn't know how to at this time. We already know how to get in. Maybe you need to go in there. Why do you ask your heart what you feel you should do here in this scene? And I'm hearing the guides say, all right, we've chosen to leave the pathway of weeds to go to the path of the nothing and discover ourselves in a new way. Or that means you actually move from one experience to the next experience to something totally new. Something totally new is sort of happening, and it's almost like there's a weird pivot going on here. It seems like an inevitable event. And while we're being introduced to some of this stuff coming back, really it's just the opportunity to purge it out. If anything, these are more like mirrors into something you need to look at in order to move on from it completely, or just transition, or just slingshot forward, because all this stuff is complete now, you know? I just felt like saying that. So let's see what your heart says. You're going to ask yourself what you feel like you should do. And let's see what comes to you. You say you hate this blobulous thing. You hate it. You want it to die. Like you want to kill it. You're going to kill it in order to set yourself free. It's actually genuinely the truth. You're actually expressing that is from the heart, because you really do hate this thing. Okay. Well, let's go into a scene where you kill it. Let's just get that out of your system. You have spears, like for spearing a fish in the ocean. It's like a harpoon. And you spear this thing with a harpoon, but it has a rope attached to it. But it's almost like, I don't know, you're treating this like a big sea creature. It's not easy to kill. What's interesting is as you release your aggression on it, you're inhaling the spirit of yourself back into yourself, believe it or not. The aggression is actually inhaling this ghostly apparition of yourself that's on the inside of this thing. It's almost like not your style to fight back. So because you're choosing to explore it as a concept, it's breathing yourself back into yourself. It's not saying that you're a violent person. It's just the proper way to vent something. You're not giving yourself room to be that. You've breathed so much of yourself back. I mean, that it's just you now, and then this thing. And now that you are back within yourself, you are back to yourself, you don't feel the same emotion towards this thing that you did. In fact, you thank it. You even shake its hand. It has no hands, but somehow there's like an energy hand. You just shake the air as though you're shaking its hand. And then you get a weird thought that, oh my gosh, I just ingested those evil eyes and it's going to start all over again. I say, where did that thought come from? And you say, fear of history repeating itself. I say, why does history have to repeat itself? You say you did the wrong thing by hurting that being in order to get yourself back. I say, why though? I want you to explain why that you feel that way. You say, because all along the being was simply helping me. I wasn't able to see that it was helping me. I saw that it was harming me. And so what built up inside myself was anger. And that's how it absorbed that part of myself, which was this anger. But I didn't know what to do in order to balance the situation, and I held the anger back, and I felt powerless. Only to break this thing down, to breathe that part of me back, I actually am able to see clearly here. I say, so you actually needed to go through all those steps in order to see clearly? Maybe we can't blame you for that. You say you want to do it differently. So we rewind time and wipe your memory clean so you have no idea what you had done in a future version of time and what you decided that you wanted to reset time and try this again without knowing and see if something else comes to you. It's kind of disappointing because we have to go back into a murkier sensation. You want to see if you could just simply know inside yourself how to face this with a different type of caliber, different way. You're thinking, this is what happens. You decide to find the next path. So like you left the weeds, you're going to leave this. And then you're going to get to know your energy without it there. You just want to do this. But it's kind of like a monkey on your back. It's like it's following you everywhere you go. And then you start to think, if it wants to be attached to me, that must be because it needs me, needs something of me, maybe even loves me. And you stop at one of these paths of nothingness where you've had some time to breathe and just clear. And this thing really is attached to your back, so you take it off and you set it in front of you, and it's a lot smaller than it was. And you say, what do you want? This thing says, I want you to find yourself. And you say, what do you mean by that? And it says, I can't leave you until you find yourself. This version of you from the past doesn't know you're inside of it yet. I see a lot of years go by, and you're not afraid of this thing anymore. You see it as just sort of like an everyday fixture to your life. It doesn't really represent anything other than it just happens to be a weird blobulous thing with eyeballs. And at one time, it made you uncomfortable. It made you angry even. It made you feel things like powerless and like you wanted to die. It made you feel many different things. But over time, you learned to not feel derailed by it at all. And I see after a very long time, you speak to this thing again. And you talk to it about what you've witnessed and how you've changed over the years because of it being there in your life. And then you thank it for being a part of your life for reasons that you can't understand. And how you're supposed to find yourself. If anything, you found yourself over all these years changing and finding inner peace with this strange thing in your life. And that's when this eyeball substance thing dries up and there's a tiny whisper of yourself inside. And your eyes are really huge about this because you didn't expect it. And the whisper comes back into you and you cough a bit. And all the memories of the weeds and the hurting and the changes that you've had to make and everything that you've been through, all this long bumpy road and emotional process, it all sort of flows back to you in your memories, but it subsides and you feel okay. You feel okay. And I don't feel anything like a rubber band and slingshotting forward. I feel like time is starting to not be about how we are behind or how we are ahead. It's starting to feel whole around you and that you're standing in time as a wholeness. So you are whole with it and it with you. And it doesn't matter where you go, backward or forward, or how quickly you get there, because you have gained inner peace. You have found yourself. And what more could anybody want in life than that? It brings you inner peace. Wow. That's literally what I'm called to share. Thank you so much for that. Phil, there's just a lot of layers of meaning to this message. And I have a feeling that people watching this are going to have their own takeaway in their own life for this process of healing, this message for you. Thank you so much for sharing this experience with us. Thank you everybody for watching, and I hope you all have a very beautiful rest of your day.